So I'm going to keep it real with you guys in this video, and you want to stick around for the whole video here, especially if you're a Boeing shareholder. A few months ago, when things were looking good in the economy, I publicly stated to you guys that I did start buying Boeing stock, and I made a few videos on this and have been completely vocal and transparent about owning this company even during these uncertain times. Well, recently Warren Buffett came out and shared his thoughts around the airlines industry, and this has set a lot of panic with not only the airline stocks, but also with airline manufacturers like Boeing as well. This is because in a shocking move, Buffett actually stated that their company, Berkshire Hathaway, sold out of 100% of their stakes in all the airline companies. Of course, as a Boeing shareholder, when he stated this, it caught my attention right away. And then after he did, he actually went on to kind of address Boeing directly. And I do have some thoughts to share around that as well. So guys, what I'm going to do now is actually play a quick clip from that meeting where he talks about Boeing and kind of the airlines as well. And then what I'm going to do after that is share my thoughts on what he said. And of course, let you guys know what I'm personally going to be doing with my Boeing position, whether I've changed my stance on Boeing, whether I'm going to be taking a loss on this company. I'll let you guys know all of that after this clip. So if this is your first time watching that clip, make sure you pay attention because I will be addressing some of the points he makes after we're done watching that together. But anyways, guys, hit that like button down below. And without further ado, here's Warren Buffett.
Boeing raised $25 billion just a day or two ago, and they raised $14 billion before that. And a year ago, they felt they were in a fine cash position, and I understand how all that happened. Airbus has had the same situation. They've made some comments recently within the last week. You know, the fact that they really don't know what their future is, and I don't know what their future is. We're gonna have aircraft in this country. We're gonna be flying, but the real question is whether you need a lot of new planes or not, and when you're likely to need them, and it affects a lot of people, and it certainly affects Precision Castparts. It affects General Electric. It obviously affects Boeing, it is a blow to essentially have your demand dry up, and it goes up in the chain, and the aircraft manufacturers didn't bring it on themselves. The airlines didn't bring it on themselves. Precision Castparts didn't bring it on themselves. General Electric didn't. It's basically that we shut off air travel in this country, and what that does to people's habits, how they behave in the future, it's just hard to evaluate. I don't know the answer, but we do know that it will have an effect on Precision Castparts, and how severe it will be, it depends on the same sort of variables that are hitting Boeing and you name the company in aircrafts. And aircraft's a big business. And this country's good at it, incidentally, too. I mean, if you think about Boeing, it is one hell of a company, and it's important. It's a huge exporter, and it affects a lot of jobs, and some of them are with us. And we hope for the best, and we wish everybody the best, obviously, and we wish ourselves the best in it. But part of it is certainly out of our control.
Right. Okay, so clearly from his tone, Buffett is concerned about the airline industry. Now you got to remember, he is not the type of investor that's going to go out and panic sell a position just because he's down on a position. His theory, his mentality behind owning stocks is to find businesses that you love, find businesses that you understand, find businesses that you think are going to be much larger businesses in the future, buy their stock at undervalued prices, and just hold them forever. He's not in it for quick gains. He's not in it to kind of buy this year, sell next year, make a small profit, and move on. No. When he makes an investment, he wants to own part of that business and ride that business up all the way to its max potential. The only reason he would really sell a position is if either the fundamentals of the company changed or the fundamentals of the industry changed. And I believe that's exactly why he sold out of his airline positions. He most likely sees the industry changing permanently, at least for the foreseeable future here. And because of that, he does not believe that owning these airline stocks makes sense anymore. Of course, he states in the video that there are going to be planes, people are going to fly, but the real question that we don't know the answer to is, will consumer behavior permanently be changed because of everything that's happened recently? So now, as a Boeing shareholder, this really got me thinking, and it really made me question if I should sell out of my Boeing position because Buffett sold out of this industry. So first, let me tell you that while I respect Buffett and while I watch his interviews and learn a lot from him, he has been wrong in the past, he has made mistakes in the past, and he did admit that he made a mistake buying into the airline industry, and perhaps he made a mistake selling out of it as well. But that doesn't mean that he's wrong this time, doesn't mean that he's right this time. We'll have to just wait and see how it plays out. But really, his actions here really left me scratching my head trying to figure out why he did this and what his actual reasoning was for selling these airlines. His theme throughout his whole meeting was to never bet against America, always invest for the long term, and he also said that he believes that airlines are not going away in the future. Yet he chose to take a loss on his airline position. Now, if he believed this industry would get back to where it was, say, in January 2020, at some point in the future, he probably would have added more to his position, bought more shares, and just averaged down here with the potential to earn even more over the long term. But he didn't do that, and that's important to note. Now, I think because of the government aid that these companies received, and because of the things that are going to be forced on these companies now with probably no share buybacks, no dividends, and the high debt load that they have to take on, it's not going to make sense anymore to own this business even over the long term, because fundamentally the way that they operate may change and how they reward shareholders has changed as well. Alternatively, maybe they decided that this was the best time to sell out of these positions because these companies are actually headed for bankruptcy despite the aid that they're receiving. Because like he said, things could have permanently been changed for consumer behavior, for flying, and a lot of these companies may not be able to sustain those costs moving forward. Now, I don't know if it's one of these two or maybe a different reason that he actually sold out, but all I can really say is that I agree with him here with the airline companies specifically. I would not and do not own any of these companies, regardless of their price, and I believe that there's a good chance that a bunch of them will go bankrupt here in the near future. They just burn way too much money, they have way too much debt, and they're going to be very high risk as well. So it doesn't make sense, especially for a beginner investor, to buy into these companies right now. Now, as of today, I have Boeing shares in two of my accounts. So I've made a series on this channel with my retirement account, and in there I disclose to you exactly how many shares of Boeing I have, what my position is, how much I'm down in that position, and all of that fun stuff. So if you guys are interested, check that video out after you watch this video. Now, for my retirement account, I didn't even think twice here. Boeing is remaining in this portfolio. It's a retirement account, guys. These positions are going to be held for 20, 30 years or more, and I think by then Boeing is going to be a much larger company than it is today. So yes, I am holding my position in that account, most likely 100%. However, for my private portfolio, I did buy into Boeing when it was crashing on its way down there in March. And in that portfolio, I am thinking of possibly doing something. I'm going to share with you guys what that is here in a second. And it's not because Buffett sold out of the airlines, but it's because I believe there's possibly a better opportunity for my money. Let me explain. But wait, actually, before I go into that, guys, just remember, I don't believe Boeing is going to go bankrupt. If I did, I wouldn't be holding it in any of these accounts. I probably would have sold out by now. So I think the future is fine for Boeing. I think they're going to survive this. And bankruptcy is not an option, at least not in the foreseeable future. Okay, so anyways, in my private portfolio, my position is down around 40% or so. And I've been evaluating my options here. The first is I can just continue holding this stock, just, let it do its thing, and eventually have it recover over time. The second option is that I could buy more and I could average down on this position and probably lower my cost basis significantly and potentially realize gains much quicker than if I just held it. The third option is that I could sell out of this position, take that capital and deploy it into another stock which I believe has more potential. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I'm not planning to buy any more shares at these current prices here of like $130, $140. Maybe if we get back to like $80 or $90 or so, I might buy a bit more. But as of right now, that's not really an option I'm considering. So that means I can either continue holding onto this position or I could sell out of this position right now and take somewhere around a 40% loss. Now, the CEO of Boeing said that he thinks that it could take 2 to 3 years for things to normalize in this industry. And funny enough, when companies make estimates like this, I usually like to double it just for some cushion with my predictions. So let's say it takes around 4 to 5 years or so for things to actually fully recover. The question I ask myself then is there a better use of my capital over the next 5 years? That's a tough question because just to break even on this position, I'd need the stock to rise around 75% over the next 5 years. And that would just get me to break even, not any profits. But another way to pose this question is, do I believe that Boeing can gain at least 75% appreciation for its stock price over the next 5 years? And I think the answer for that is yes. And let me explain why. I think that if the 737s are ungrounded sometime soon and Boeing is able to start selling those and delivering them to their customers once again, they're actually going to pull in a lot of money once again, and that's going to help reduce their debt load on their balance sheet, increase their profits, and eventually get back to where the price was back in 2018 or whatever it was. Now, the one thorn here I would say would be their debt load. Although I do think they're going to pay that down over time, I think it's going to take them at least another decade or so to fully pay that off. So it's always going to be something as a shareholder you got to keep an eye on, make sure that it doesn't start ballooning once again, and they are reducing it year over year. Because of this, I don't think there's going to be a dividend anytime soon or any share buybacks for this company because they're going to be focused on reducing that debt, in my opinion. So while I don't see the stock ballooning to $6,000-$7,000 a share in the next, say, 5-10 years, I think that it's very reasonable to see Boeing in, say, the mid to high 200s in the next 5 years. Now, the tough decision is if I sold Boeing today and took that 40% loss, is there anywhere else, is there any other stock that's kind of in a similar industry because I want to keep exposure to this industry? Is there another stock that I could put my money into that could potentially gain me more than 75% in the next 5 years? One company that comes to mind is the giant 3M. And I think they can probably get me back to that 75% gain over this time period, which would put this stock actually back to its all-time highs. This, of course, is depending on how the economy does and how the economy recovers in this time period, which is very likely to happen in my opinion. So theoretically, yes, there is a better option today to put my money in, say, into 3M to get that 75% back in the next 5 years. However, that being said, guys, I think that there is a small chance, but still a chance nonetheless, that if things start going right for Boeing over the next year or two, that the company could actually recover much quicker than expected. There's a lot of different variables that need to be going in the right direction for this company, but that 75% upside could easily double or triple if things go well. Now, when I look at the alternatives like 3M, I don't see that as a possibility. I don't think that 3M is going to double or triple in the next 5 years or so because there's nothing really holding back this company apart from its earnings. There's no negative press. There's nothing really significantly saying you can't sell this product, which makes you a bunch of your money. With Boeing, we have that with the 737s, and I think that's going to get resolved very soon. So really, guys, I think after looking at all the companies in this sector, that it does make sense for me to continue holding on to my Boeing position even though it's down 40% because the potential upside here with the stock over the next 5 years or so is still higher than if I took my money and put it into another industrial giant. Now, while I agree with Buffett's views on the airline industry right now and that it's going to hurt for the foreseeable future, I disagree with him on the fact that things are going to permanently change in the future. I think once there's a vaccine, flights are going to be packed once again, people are going to be traveling once again, and like I said, there's a whole potential here with China and India, with the middle class getting up there and being able to afford airline tickets and all that kind of stuff. So there's massive, massive potential for this industry, in my opinion, in the future. I also think that as these planes get older, they're gonna have to pay a lot more for maintenance, and at that point it may make more sense for them, in most cases it would, to buy a new plane from Boeing, which of course will just help Boeing grow even more. And maybe if Buffett's right and demand never gets back to where it was before, these companies may go and choose to get rid of their larger planes and buy some newer 737 planes, which are much smaller, much more efficient, and of course, again, that would help Boeing. Also remember, I just want to throw this in here, that Boeing has a defense division to them as well, which earns them quite a bit of money, so I don't think that's in any jeopardy here, and that's just going to be another growth driver for the company as we move into the future. Now guys, this doesn't mean that my decision on Boeing stock is set in stone here. If a better opportunity comes up in this industrial space, I would not hesitate to sell out of this position, take a loss, and put my money into that other position. I do have to see good upside potential there, and there's not a lot of companies, in my opinion, today that give me that opportunity. Let me just say that if Tesla, which is not really industrial stock, but it's kind of in that space, you know, it's like travel, they're kind of an industrial type company. If that stock was in the $200 range today, I would have sold out of Boeing and put my capital into that stock. But we all know where Tesla is today. It's nowhere near that price, so that's not really a possibility for me. I just want to make it clear that I'm not married to this Boeing position. Just because I'm down 40% does not mean I'm going to hold this stock forever and never sell out of it to realize a loss. No, no, no. If there's a better way to make more money in a different position, I will sell out of Boeing. Now, I know this was a long video, but I really wanted to spend some time to really give you guys a good understanding of my thought process behind this position. I know a lot of you hold Boeing stock. You know that I hold a ton of Boeing stock. So it's important to really discuss these things when it happens, because not every investment is going to go your way. Boeing is one of the worst performers, if not the worst performer in my portfolio. So you live and learn, you kind of take what you can from these mistakes, and you hope you never make them again in the future. Guys, hope this video was helpful to you. Let me know in the comment section down below what you plan to do with Boeing stock, and if the thesis around Buffett here has made you change your thesis with your Boeing investment. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to invest positively, and I'll see you in the next one.